What would you do with $100? Maybe get a nice new haircut? Well, not for these two teenagers. These two poor guys did something with it that will blow your mind. James was only 9 years old when he and his family relocated to Seattle, a town of barely 65,000 people. Due to his father's illness, James had to drop out of school at the age of 11 and work for $2.50 a week as a delivery driver's assistant at the Bon Marche department store. James also obtained night shift work at ADT at the meantime. This is where he met Claude Ryan, working a shift from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. During the 1897 Klondike Gold Rush, his father died in Alaska. His father had told him to become a businessman, never work with your hands. So when James met John Moritz in 1903 with $30 in his pocket, they began a messaging service, earning $50 per month delivering messages from the local phone and telegraph office. This venture was a success, but John Moritz was tragically shot and killed. James exited the business because he was dissatisfied. Years later, the 19-year-old James Casey reconnected with his friend Claude Ryan, who was already an 18-year-old teenager then. Together, they decided to venture into business, and they came up with one of the most incredible ideas human beings can pull off. They have both previously worked as messenger boys, so they thought that a delivery business would be perfect for them. With this simple but brilliant idea, they went on to borrow $100 from James Casey's uncle. James's uncle was happy to help the boys, so he loaned them $100 and even let them use his basement as an office. The American Messenger Company was then born on August 28, 1907. The company's first office was a 6-foot by 17-foot saloon basement on Main Street and 2nd Avenue in Seattle. Casey and Ryan promoted their business by posting red and white posters near public phones with the slogan, "Best service at lowest prices." They were open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including weekends and holidays. They slept on the lunch counter of the saloon with their cushion near the phones. Their first employees were Casey's brother George and a few other teenagers in the neighborhood. They wore uniforms and pledged to follow a stringent code of conduct, which included customer friendliness and no whistling. The messengers ran errands, delivered parcels, and transported letters, luggage, and restaurant trays every day. They did the majority of their deliveries on foot and bicycles for longer trips. And just like in the call center agency, only those who had learned the right responses answered the phones. However, it was not easy to find customers that time. There were a lot of messenger and delivery businesses back then that customers would just call all of them and give their business to the first one to arrive. But because James Casey and Claude Ryan were tenacious and wouldn't give up easily, they decided to partner with retailers and transport things directly to customers' homes. American Messenger was recruited by a clothes business to deliver items. The company then hired 10 messengers and purchased their first delivery van to accommodate their new client. And because they were now delivering packages for merchants, they changed the company's name to Merchants Parcel Delivery. James Casey and Claude Ryan were visionaries who aspired to work in the world's largest retail stores. They had contact businesses and urged that they save money by getting rid of their massive fleets of horse-drawn delivery vehicles and just do business with their delivery company. They succeeded in partnering with these businesses, and by the end of 1912, they already had 100 employees and a second office at 1602 1/2 4th Avenue, which was closer to Seattle's shopping district. To live up with their promises of faster and smoother delivery, American Messenger merged with McCabe's Motorcycle Delivery Company in 1913. With this, they were able to employ 25 more messengers and buy 6 motorcycles and a Ford Model T. How fancy was their delivery service? And who would have thought that their $100 capital was going to be growing thousands of dollars so quickly? With 4 automobiles, 5 motorcycles, and 30 messengers on foot, Merchants Parcel Delivery was the largest delivery service in Seattle by 1915. Merchants Parcel Delivery gradually partnered with 3 of Seattle's 4 largest retailers, and delivering for large retail clients became the new norm for them in the following years. However, at the height of their still growing success, Claude Ryan decided to leave the company. He reportedly left because of the disagreements between him and Garnet McCabe. George Casey, James's brother, also left to serve in the Navy during World War I, but returned to the company 2 years later. James and George Casey, Charlie Soderstrom, and Mac McCabe were the main forces behind Merchants Parcel from then on. In 1919, literally months after World War I ended, Merchants Parcel Delivery made its first expansion to Oakland, California, where the name United Parcel Service debuted, which is now popularly known as UPS. That same year, UPS painted their cars its signature color brown, representing class, sophistication, and professionalism. UPS began buying delivery companies using stocks in the following years. UPS was able to send 2,000 packages every day in Los Angeles, and by 1929, UPS has delivered over 11 million packages. A company named Curtiss Wright offered UPS $2 million in cash and $600,000 of its shares in the fall of 1929. UPS stockholders became Curtiss Wright stockholders. Using the $2 million in cash, UPS relocated their headquarters to New York. However, it was also in 1929, commonly known as the Great Crash, when the New York Stock Exchange's share prices plummeted. The air service that UPS offered was forced to discontinue in order to stay in business in 1931. The market crash provided James the opportunity to reclaim his company from Curtiss Wright by swapping Curtiss Wright stock for UPS shares. UPS soon had 159 vans serving 37 New York retail stores. Automobiles were becoming increasingly popular by the 1950s, and it was not a good news for UPS. Their sales were declining, but as usual, the company had a plan. They reintroduced the airmail service, which had been discontinued in 1931, but this time, UPS was using commercial airlines to transport goods. The achievements and struggles for UPS continued over the years. When James Casey retired at UPS in 1962, the firm had expanded to 31 states, had $550 million in yearly revenue, and employed 22,000 people. He once told his employees, quote, "We are only serving 5% of the world's population," end quote. Even when he already retired, he still gave his advice to UPS to go international. And being the good listener to the real master, UPS expanded its services to Toronto and started its international operations for the first time. In the same year, UPS was the first package delivery firm to serve every address in the continental United States. How awesome is that? It's so cool that within UPS, this extraordinarily interconnection of service areas was dubbed as the Golden Link. A decade after expanding across the Americas and Europe, UPS began offering services in the Middle East, Africa, and the Pacific Rim in 1989. At present, UPS delivers packages on over 220 countries and territories. It all started with $100, 2 bicycles, 1 phone, and a small office in a hotel basement in Seattle. Who would have thought that 2 teenage friends would have paved the way for what would eventually become a multi-dollar enterprise? It's all about starting small, thinking big, and the magic will happen over time.